Hello, my name is Nadia Khan. I'm the founder of Women in Control, and you're watching TLS for the Great Escape Festival.
Can you tell us about, for those who may not know, what Women in Control is?
And I started Women in Control just off the back of my own experiences being in the industry and working in the industry for that long. When I started to share my own experiences with other women across the industry, I felt that we had, if not the same experiences, super similar experiences. And I also noticed that women in the industry, we tend to just get on in the background and get work done rather than shout about ourselves and promote ourselves. And there's been research shown that men tend to create more strategic relationships within their companies and tend to rise up. So I definitely was guilty of that myself, you know, working as a manager, kind of putting my head down in the back and just thinking that I was going to get acknowledged. But there were so many experiences that I had over the years. For example, you know, going to venues and not being able to get in at the door, and the bouncers just not even believing that I'm the manager. After years of experience in it, I think one thing kind of triggered for me, and I started to look at what was happening and why I was experiencing that. And part of that was acknowledging my own take in that as well, to say, well, I don't really put myself out there enough. I started Women in Control up really naturally. You know, it's a not-for-profit organization. It's been going for about 3 years now, but how it started was just literally on my Instagram, just posting other women in the industry that I didn't feel were getting looked upon and shouted out about enough or promoted in the industry at all. I really felt that there was still that really heavy boys club mentality where all the guys were bigging themselves up and patting each other on the back, and that wasn't the same for women in the industry. So I wanted to change them, and also wanted to encourage them to shout out about their achievements as well. So I started putting on events, and it's all been a lot of really natural kind of organic growth. We've opened it up to membership. You know, I think that kind of really grew rapidly last year after lockdown. I started doing lockdown webinar sessions where I was doing weekly sessions, really started to build up a really strong community, and having that extra time to spend on Women in Control. You know, we've grown now to over 2,000 members. We also have an online community space where you know, anyone can join for free and come and connect, network, find out about events in the industry, connect with other members, hear about other things that's going on, and share their own experiences as well.
It sounds like a fantastic movement, I suppose. And obviously it's been, as you can tell from your experiences, it's very much needed. You've been going for about 3 years now. Has there been any sort of positive change those past 3 years?
I don't think so until, you know, more recently in the last few months. I think one thing that happened last year, again, going back to COVID and lockdown happening, you know, it gave us all that time to actually be at home and slowed life down for us. And I felt that that was the first time in the industry where anyone or organizations had really stopped and started to talk about diversity and started to want to be more open to address the issues that were going on. So that really, I guess, drove for me, I saw an opportunity to actually create some change. And I think that data is really, really important in being able to tell the story or show issues and show what the different disparities are. Because if you're just complaining yourself, like you can be seen as just being complaining or being negative, and you really, to get taken seriously, you really have to show the data to show, you know, this is the actual problems that exist. You know, some of the stats from that report showed that there was only 1 female chair across all the music industry trade bodies. There was only 3 female CEOs, and that number had been declining over the years as other female CEOs had been left and been replaced by male CEOs. Some of the data was really shocking, and then when you looked at the data for Black women, it was even more stark. There was only 2.7% of seats held by Black women in the boardroom, and that actually equated to only 5 Black women sitting on boardroom seats out of a possible 185. It was only through having that data and publishing that data and showing that data, everyone was able to look at the current state of the industry and understand it and say, do you know what? Some of the organizations were like, we can do better and we will do better. I put myself forward to become chair of AIM. So I put myself forward for election at the start of this year, and I got elected to become chair of AIM as well. So obviously now in the report, there's going to be 2 female chairs, but it's really slow progress like that.
You obviously made a very good start. There's a long way to go until there's true equality and equity within this industry. What needs to happen, and who needs to do it?
Sometimes it can feel really, really overwhelming, because no matter what area you look in, whether you work behind the scenes or you work as a musician, you know or have seen all this different data that's come out. So it can feel really, really overwhelming. And I think that data really, really helps us, but nothing's going to change unless the industry accepts it and makes that conscious effort to change. We can only do so much. I can only guide some certain candidates to you. It's up to them now to kind of really take that on and nurture those candidates, and eventually, you know, they'll make their organizations better, and start looking about you know, a diversity in a different way. Start looking at diversity as adding value. So it's proven to help your business as well. So I think it's just like looking at it from that different perspective and taking this data. You know, a lot of us across the industry, we spend a lot of time putting this data together, and if it's ignored, if it's not listened to, if it's just passed over, and then nothing is going to change. So, you know, my approach has not really been to attack people and attack organizations. It's really about, this is the issues, what can we do, where is the root of the problem. I've done another report looking at in radio, women in radio, and female musicians are not supported on radio equally either. And I looked at the top 100 radio airplay chart for the period of a year, and men feature on 81% of all records, because women and female artists are having to collaborate with male acts in order to get success on the radio, in order to have chart success. So if we don't publish that data, and if we don't have those conversations, then, you know, nothing is going to change. Whatever area you look into, there's that disparity. So, you know, we need to go deeper than that and say, well, what is the root and cause of that issue, and what can we do to actually make real change?
Really sobering statistics that you're giving out, and I identify as a man. What can I do? I'm not on the board, but maybe just as a music, you know, I'm interested in music, and what can I do?
Yeah, I think it's just about amplifying those issues and just engaging in that conversation, because a lot of times, you know, say with Women in Control, you know, one thing that's been great about building that online community is having a safe space for women to talk. But a lot of times I've had those conversations going, well, if we just talk amongst ourselves, are we actually getting any change done? We really need to speak to men in the industry, and we need men in the industry to be part of that and understand the issues and acknowledge the issues. It's just really important that we keep the conversation going and we drive it forward, because it can be times where there's this, like, you know, there's these trends happen where everyone's like, really, oh, it's really cool to talk about diversity now, it's really cool to talk about that issue, but unless we actually engage in it and continue talking about it, then it will just die off. So yeah, I just think, you know, get involved, speak to different women across the industry or whatever sector that it is you're in, or if there's any research or data that's out there, just help amplify the message and get it out.
Fantastic. And where can people find Women in Control online for that to amplify?
Yeah, well, you can join as a free member in the online community space, and that's members.womenincontrol.com. And you can follow us on socials. We're at Women in CTRL everywhere as well. And yeah, it's a really great community. You know, we've had so many collaborations come out of the community. We've had a lot of job referrals.
It sounds like a really positive force, and I'm very thankful that you've really spearheaded this. What is the ultimate goal for Women in Control?
There's so many issues in the industry that I want to see a lot of change happening. I want to see those figures. I want to see these issues acknowledged. I want to see the income, the pay gap reduced. I want to see some acknowledgement of that from the industry. I would, really like to see harassment in the industry reduced. So, there's really, really big issues in the industry. So I would just like to keep on seeing that change, but I'm hoping to see those steps happening towards change. And as long as I can see that and track that each year, then I think we'll be in a good place. Absolutely.
I suppose ultimately you would want no need for Women in Control to exist anymore, and we just have an environment where everything is as it should be.
This is real. This is such a huge issue here that so many people need and have been driven and felt that they should sign up and be a part of this movement. So it shows that there's some real deep-rooted issues that we definitely need to resolve. So yeah, hopefully in the future, maybe that's the goal, that Women in Control doesn't need to exist anymore because we have that equality. But yeah, let's see how many years that takes.
For shedding some light on what we know is a pretty unhealthy side to the music industry. Speak to you next time. Bye.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
the time.